Thank you for welcoming me to your community. This is a great community. I know some of you. I taught down the street here at Salem Mills High School is where I teach right now, but I taught at Spanish Fork High School for many years, and it's a great community, great experience, and we love being here. Just a little background on me. I am state representative for the neighboring district. That's Payson, Santaquin, Salem. I think the reason why I was asked to be here is that I have many years of experience as a debate coach, and so they figure that ties in well to moderating a debate. So we'll see how well this goes. One thing I would like to say just before I get started out, as a debate coach, one of the most important things that I try to teach my students several times throughout the year, and I try to do myself, sometimes I do better at it and sometimes I do worse, but I'm a big believer in Arthur Brooks. I think he penned the words better than I ever could in a very simple way. It says we need to disagree, not less, but more, but we need to disagree better. And so hopefully we can have some spirited discussion on policy, but we keep the discussion related to policy and not make it personal, and so we can make a good decision as a community. All right, the format, first off, we're going to start off with 2-minute intro for each candidate. We're going to start on this end and we're going to go down the row. After that, there are 8 questions. We'll give each candidate 1 minute for each question. We'll start again down here for the first question, go down the row. Second question, we'll start with the second candidate. Third question, and then we'll wrap back around so everybody has a chance to be first and last, and so they don't get lost in the middle all the time and have to say ditto. Hopefully that doesn't happen very often. So, okay, start off down here. Will you also state your names? I've met most of you coming in, but I can't remember your names, and so I just want to make sure I don't call you by the wrong thing.
Are we on here? Hello? Can you guys hear me? Okay, close. Excellent. So my name's Edis Hill, and a little bit about me. I am married to my wife, Terry Hill. This October will be 30 years, and I have 6 beautiful daughters. Yes, you did hear correct, 6 beautiful daughters. And when I first started tonight and getting ready, and I told my wife, I don't want to be the first one to get the mic. So obviously, I got the first one to be the mic. Anyway, so I actually have been in Spanish Fork for the last 6 years. We moved from outside the state. I grew up in West Valley City, spent a lot of time there in Kearns, West Valley area, married my beautiful wife there, and I graduated from Salt Lake Community College as a technical area as a rad tech, so radiology technologies. And unfortunately at that time there wasn't a whole lot of jobs in the state, so had to move out of the state for my career, and that pulled me to a couple different areas, to Arizona as well as Reno. So spent about 20 years outside of Utah, and then we had the opportunity to move back. It's about 6 years, just a little over 6 years ago, and super proud that we moved here to Spanish Fork. We did a lot of looking for Spanish Fork, and before we got to Spanish Fork, we did a lot of looking different areas. I do work at the hospital in Provo, Utah Valley Hospital. I'm the director of imaging now there, and so very used to running a big corporation type situation. Have lots of opportunity with regulations and different areas where we're regulated very much in that area of medicine and healthcare, CMS. That's one of the things that really gives me some strength to what I'm doing and why I'm here. I'm able to make those decisions, make the tough decisions. And I'm super grateful for having moved to Spanish Fork. We moved here 6 years, and this community is awesome. 4 of my daughters have graduated from high school here, or will have graduated from high school. I've got a senior this year, and then I have 2 that graduated at ALA and 1 that graduated from Maple Mountain. So I'm super proud here, and I'm grateful to have everybody here.
Well, first off, thank you all for being here, and thank you for watching on television, because it shows a lot about the care that you have for Spanish Fork. Thank you to the Chamber for putting this on. My name is Jesse Carden, and I'm running for City Council. My wife and I moved here about a decade ago. We have triplets, so that's what you can remember me by. I'm the one with triplets. And we chose Spanish Fork for a very specific reason. It was for the community feel that Spanish Fork has. Some will call it the small town feel. I like to call it the community feel because Spanish Fork has grown quite a bit over the last couple decades. What brought us to Spanish Fork was that, and we got involved very quickly with Spanish Fork. I was fortunate enough to run the Plasma Center on Main Street, if you know where that's at, the old Safeway or Joann's, or there's lots of different names for that building. But the Plasma Center became very important to what I do for a living, but also to the community. And I wanted to find ways to give back. And I first got involved with the Chamber of Commerce by joining the board or being elected to the board, and eventually becoming the chair of the board of Chamber of Commerce. If you didn't know, the Chamber of Commerce puts on a lot of events in the community, such as the Easter egg hunt, which is a lot of fun, takes a lot of people. I see there's several people in the crowd that have helped do that event, so they could attest to the amount of work that the Chamber goes to making that happen. But eventually, it also led to me being appointed to the Planning Commission. On the Planning Commission, we deal with a lot of different things. When Kevin Euler was elected to City Council, I was elected by my peers on the Planning Commission to be the chair of that committee. And then last year, Brandon Gordon was elected to the County Commission, and I was appointed by the City Council at the time to being on the City Council. One of the things that's amazing about Spanish Fork that I want to make sure that we reflect on is that the people of Spanish Fork are what make it what it is. It's the committees, it's the people who volunteer, it's the people on the East Bench that are coming down to sandbag because they're worried about the river flooding to make sure that it's good. Like I said, I'm Jesse Cardin and I'm running for City Council, and I ask for your vote.
Hi, my name is Jackie Larson. I am the wife of a sixth-generation farmer here in Spanish Fork. Matt and I have been married for 11 years. We have 2 kids. My parents are Lynn and Jan Johnson. Matt's parents are Gary and Sue Larson. Many people might know my husband's grandparents, Ted Larson and Betty Ray Larson. Let's see, what else about me? I have worked in healthcare for 17 years. I currently work at Revere Health in the revenue cycle management. I have a lot of experience in compliance practices, policy writing, finance and budgets, and as well as leadership skills. So when I grew up, I participated a lot in 4-H and was a rodeo queen, where I would represent different cities. I was an ambassador for different cities where I would help support and speak for the cultural heritage and the Western heritage for the rodeo atmosphere. I'm running for City Council because I feel like we need somebody in here who's going to help represent the citizens and their interests and uphold the Constitution at a local level. Thanks.
I'm Mark Warner. I'm married to my wife, Mindy Warner. We've been married 40 years, and that is an accomplishment. To be married to me for 40 years. We have 3 children and 8 grandchildren, and I'm proud that they've all decided to raise their families here in Spanish Fork. It makes me very proud of that. My experiences are I was in 40 years in the printing manufacturing business. 20 of that was in ownership, where I was in charge of the day-to-day operations. I did large purchases to manage it that way. I've been trained in lean management and know how to position and lean management teaches that you are continually improving, the continued improvement. And that will be some of my objectives on City Council. I'm running for office. One of my priorities is my grandchildren. I want them to grow up in the same type of environment, the community environment that I grew up in here in Spanish Fork. And I'm deeply excited, and I think you all should be excited that there's at least 8 people willing to try to do this, because this is not easy. And that's why I'm running.
I want to thank Kathleen and her staff and SFCN for putting this on and being able to show the candidates to the rest of the community and giving them an opportunity to hear what we have to say. I'm really grateful to have all of you here. I love seeing people being engaged in the process. So I'm Matt Barber. I've lived in Spanish Fork 50 years. I'm married to Rochelle Evans from Lake Shore. I have 4 adult kids. I'm the managing partner in our 3-generation family-owned insurance agency that's over on Center Street, the old yellow house that you see right here across from the park. I was on the city council before in 2004 to 2008, and I actually won the primary election that year, but my dad passed away and I needed to take over the family business at that time, and I've been doing that ever since. I was a volunteer EMT for the city from 1993 to 2005. That really makes me sound old. I'm the co-founder of American Heroes Project. For the last 15 years, we're a 501(c) that takes veterans fishing at Strawberry during late spring and through the summer, and that's been a great project to work with. I think it goes without saying that I love this community, and I want to be your voice and the citizens' voice in representing you for all the issues that we have coming up. And our city's amazing, and I want to help keep it amazing and do my part to do that. And you can go to matt.sfcity.com to get updated information and my full platform, and I look forward to earning your vote.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for being here. I know everyone has busy schedules, so thanks for taking the evening to be here and listen to all of us. And thank you for being here, candidates. It's very exciting to have everyone pitch in and see what we can do to lift our community. And thank you to the Chamber of Commerce for setting this up, and for Spanish Fork 17 for filming this so people that were not able to be here tonight can watch in the future. I'm Stacy Beck. I'm a wife, a mother, and a grandmother. I'm an avid reader. I love to travel, and I love to shop local. We are so lucky to have so many fun stores, locally owned businesses, as well as big chains, and I think that's awesome that we have such a good mix. I've worked at Utah Valley Magazine for 18 years, and I joined the Chamber of Commerce back in 2010. That led me to be on their board of directors, and then to the Chamber of Commerce president in 2015. All of those things together led me to have the desire to serve our community in this capacity as a council member. After growing up in Spanish Fork and raising our 4 children here, I continue to enjoy serving and sharing my talents in a community full of traditions, volunteerism, pride with others. Spanish Fork offers an exceptional quality of life, from being a great place to raise a family, feeling safe, and having a variety of businesses to shop at and frequent. I have advocated for economic vitality while embracing the challenges of growth. I believe the decisions we have made set up future generations for success, just as previous councils have done before. I have worked to increase community services and amenities while protecting private property rights, both while encouraging responsible growth. I have worked to improve our community to make sure all voices are heard and that they have an audience. I'm proud of what we've accomplished, but there's still more to be done. I am committed to seeing the needs met and ensuring that Spanish Fork remains a wonderful place to live.
All right, I am Mike Clayson. I'd like to thank the Chamber for putting this on. I don't know really, because I don't like this at all, but thank you. And I really wasn't nervous until Stacy said, "So did you write it all down?" Write what down? What you're going to talk about? And I'm like, no. So we have a pact. If I go to say something stupid, she's supposed to kick me. So I may just say something dumb and have it's a test, okay?
I'm ready.
You ready? Yeah. Okay. I was born and raised here in Spanish Fork, grew up on 3rd South over by the cemetery. I love this town. Married my wife. We were in the same ward, grew up together. We now have 5 kids and a grandpa a week and a half ago. And that is pretty cool. I work at the credit union on 3rd South, Pacific Horizon. And I've done different things throughout the city. I've coached baseball, basketball, football for about 35 years. It's a love of mine. In fact, Coach Mendenhall's over there, one of the best coaches I've ever coached with this last season. And I love this town, this city, and I like to think it's small. I know it's getting big, but I'm going to call it small still. I've learned so much from the people in this town, and people, some of them that are running last time. It's some of the best friends I know. I didn't know Jesse last time we ran, but one of my best friends. He's a great guy. I learned a ton from him. I serve right now on the Planning Commission. I've done service throughout Fiesta Days for the last few years. One of my favorite things is the Power Musical. Anybody that's been there, that's turned into my love. I've spent probably, I'm going to get this wrong, so my wife will nod, probably the last 5-6 years doing it. In this town, we were able to raise $32,000 again this year to pay for that. And it's just phenomenal the way the city and the business support us. I'm currently serving on the Planning Commission. I'm really here just to be the voice of the people, I think, which is what we're all trying to do. I love this town. The way it's ran, to be a part of it would just be fantastic. Thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you to the Chamber, as has been mentioned, for hosting this amazing event. The city for letting us use Library Hall to have this. I remember 2 years ago it was outside 100 degrees. This is much better. Some of you remember. And then the candidates, thank you for being here, all of you, and being civically engaged and throwing your hat in the ring. My name is Landon Took, and I'm running for City Council in Spanish Fork because Spanish Fork helped me succeed, and I want to help Spanish Fork succeed. When I was 14 years old, my mother moved my siblings and me to Spanish Fork. Following a divorce, we were hoping to get a new start and a better life with just more opportunities. The people of this town took in my family. They loved us. They gave us a second chance. Our lives were transformed. We fell in love with this wonderful community, and Spanish Fork became an important part of who I am now. Years ago, I started getting involved in the city in Fiesta Days and at the Chamber of Commerce. I attended the inaugural Spanish Fork University 101. Later, I served as on the Recreation Center Advisory Committee, and then started attending all the city meetings. More recently, I was asked to serve on the Parks and Recreation Committee, where I'm serving now, and I love it. Along with my wife and my 3 daughters, we are invested in this community, and together we want to give back to it. Spanish Fork is our forever home because it changed my life forever. Thanks.
Yeah, and if I can piggyback on that real quick, one of the things I found is somebody who's ran for office before and done one of these, this isn't an actual real debate, it's kind of a Q&A. And it's hard to get in-depth answers when you have 8 candidates up here in a limited amount of time. So the hope is that this will, as they answer questions, it'll spark some questions in your mind that you can then engage individually with the candidates in follow-up questions. And so we hope that this will continue the conversation with each candidate. Okay, first question. First question is, what do you see as your top priorities for Spanish Fork and why?
I tried to talk Jesse into getting the first question again, but he said no, he gave me the mic back. So anyway, so a couple of the top priorities I have. One is, first of all, is our growth. We are seeing a huge amount of growth here in Spanish Fork. Can we stop growth? I know I've seen some posts on Facebook and people asking us, just stop growth, you have my vote. Well, obviously that's not possible. We're going to still continue to grow. We just need to make sure that we grow smarter. So I want to call it smart growth. We want to make sure we build our high-density housing in areas that are accessible to thoroughways and roads and streets that get on and off the freeway quickly, so we don't jam up and a lot of traffic. But it's not just traffic for growth. One of our areas that we need to worry about is our schools, our congestion, potential crime. Those are things we have to look at when it comes to growth. So we need to make sure we have that smart growth in right areas. And then obviously, one of the things I really want to work on is communication, and I will get to speak on that a little bit here in a second because that's another question. So Jesse, have fun.
I don't know who decided on 1 minute because there's not enough time in 1 minute for this question. So in City Council, one of the biggest things that we deal with is land use during when someone wants to rezone, whether that's commercial, whether that's a new business that wants to come into town. That's something that we deal with a lot of. When we're dealing with land use decisions, it's important that we're taking into account a lot of different factors. The property owner that currently owns the property, the future property owner, those adjacent to it, all of the people have a right in that decision, and it's important as City Council that we're taking into account all of those things. Ed has talked about a lot of those things that we have to also think about, traffic and those different things. One other thing that I think is important that the City Council has to take into consideration with that is the quality of life of the residents that are currently here. Because a lot of times those decisions that we're making are going to affect somebody. Whether it is that farmer, whether it is the person next door, whether it's anybody else, we have to make sure that we're listening to the people, making sure that we're thinking of the best decisions for both right now and for the future.
So I'm actually going to agree with what they both said, that I think a couple of our biggest issues facing us are growth and traffic. So Spanish Fork values the best of both worlds with having its urban living and as well as our small town feel. But as the population increases, so does the need to feed the people. And one unique thing about Spanish Fork is we actually do have some of the best producing yield per acre ground in the state of Utah. So I feel like that we need to be considering that as we are putting our density in the places where it does belong and making sure that we have compatible land uses. So, I mean, as the wife of a farmer, I could tell you that a lot of the farmers aren't leaving Spanish Fork because they don't want to farm anymore. It's really because they aren't really in the spot to where it's made sustainable any longer due to incompatible land uses that are right next to them. Another issue that we're also seeing that is like the existing infrastructure is kind of just being disregarded and treated as inconsequential, and it's making it towards just not sustainable for us to kind of continue doing what we want to be doing. So I feel like that since agriculture is an economic multiplier, it's the backbone of our community, and it's rooted deep in our community culture, that I feel like it's something that we need to take more consideration when we're making these decisions.
Hopefully I can touch base on the three top things that I have in a minute. Fiscal responsibility, city budget, and downtown development. Fiscal responsibility, the spending in the city has gone up in the recent years. While this kind of growth has benefits, we are liable for the cost as a city. By committing to so many projects at once, we are faced with having to accept higher taxes and higher growth. We may need to slow this growth down and lower the city's debt. City budget, to ensure that the proper funding is given to each of the city departments to maintain the highest levels of service possible for our citizens. Downtown development, I believe that the local downtown businesses are a key to our city's economic future, so I think that the city needs to offer them support and encouragement.
Well, I appreciate us getting the questions ahead of time. I've had a couple of neighborhood meetings where I've been able to ask these questions to some of the citizens. So these are some of the feedback that I've been given was, even though this construction season's almost over, going forward, I'd like to see us be able to keep the citizens in the loop better. Maybe during the winter months when the projects are planned for the following year, if we know that it's going to affect a certain part of town with new roundabouts, new utilities, we can actually take the meetings out to the citizens and get their input. We don't drive all the same roads that everybody does, and so it would be nice to get their input. And if we're going to tackle traffic congestion smartly, we've got to address the general plan, which is in the process of being reviewed for next year. That process really shapes the community for the next 20 years. And I think we need more citizen engagement and, again, taking it out to the community and getting their feedback. I think together with new ideas and a fresh set of eyes, we can shape the city's future.
So our quality of life, which does include growth and economic vitality, are two of my top priorities I'd like to talk about. First, our quality of life. People choose to live here for a variety of reasons, and I think our lists are probably all different. But what I do know is there is a feeling here that other communities do not have, and that draws people to us. We want our kids to stay, our grandkids to stay and grow up here. We want to shop local and have options to eat, as well as being able to be outdoors in open spaces and recreate and stay healthy. We live in the fastest growing county in the state. Everyone is feeling growing pains, which brings with it traffic, growth, and housing and water issues. It is our role in local government to make the wisest decisions with the information we have as our community grows. The second priority is economic vitality. I want to make sure that we keep our property tax low, the lowest in the county, and my time's up, so I just want to say quality of life and economic vitality are my top priorities.
I guess I've done this before, but ditto doesn't work, right? Ditto. No, really, I think we're all in agreement. Growth is huge, right? Roads are congested, growth. I will tell you, in Spanish Fork, we have the best staff controlling it. I see these people working and deciding and choosing. Are they always perfect? Well, they might be, some of them. But hey, there's a lot of growing pain. There's a lot of things. But I think the other thing is communication. And sometimes I think people feel like they get blindsided. But I will say that the information's there. We may have to look a little bit. But I think if we can control the growth, give our staff, much of the other problems, like our police department, fire, EMS, they're growing pains too, and we have helped them. Just make sure we give those people the tools they need to do to keep doing the right thing.
All right, my top 3 priorities for Spanish Fork are local priorities, local businesses, and a solid financial foundation. So first, I will focus on local priorities. I will listen to residents and focus on your priorities, especially dealing with growth and transportation needs. Those are big. I will focus also on local businesses. The lifeblood of our community are our businesses. So we must provide a business environment where ideas can grow and flourish and serve and employ our citizens. And lastly, I'll focus on a solid financial foundation. Nothing else matters if we cannot pay our bills. We must be responsible, plan for the future, and be accountable to you. These, I believe, are the keys to keeping our community full of pride and progress.
Okay, well, the microphone's going to the other end. We'll start with Jesse Carden. The next question is, what do you believe the role of the city council is in our community?
So the role of a city council member by nature is to be a representative of the people, to listen to people, to hear what their concerns are, and to represent them. And there's been several things talked about that are along with this answer, so it's great. It kind of was a segue. The general plan has been something that's very important to me since I was put on the planning commission, and something that I looked at before I moved to Spanish Fork, so I knew what was going to be built around me. But also it's something that we as citizens should be looking to as we look to the future of Spanish Fork. Right now we're getting ready to undertake a pretty big overhaul or a look at the general plan. And one of the big pieces of that, the reason why it's taken a little bit longer than some would like, is because there's a funding to make sure that the public is a part of that, to make sure that your voice is heard. Spanish Fork City wants you to be heard all the time. We as a city council want you to be heard. That's why my phone number is out there. Like if you go to my flyer, you go to my website, my Facebook, the city website, my number's out there because I want to hear from you. And I think that's the major role of the city council, is to be a representative for you, the citizens of Spanish Fork.
So I think that the role of our city council in our community is to represent the citizens and their interests and uphold their constitutional protections at a local level. I feel like our policies, our public policies, should not be designed to compel a lifestyle and a community culture that the people don't want.
Can I have some of her time?
Take it.
Yes. The city is literally a large corporation. The mayor and the city council are the city's CEO and board of directors. Members of the community are like the corporation stockholders. In a traditional business, the board of directors carries out the wishes of and are the responsibility of the company's stockholders. In the context of the city, that means that the city council creates and manages an annual budget, oversees planning and development in the city, and coordinates with the key city employees that their departments to ensure that the city runs smoothly and efficiently. The council is responsible to members of the community just like stockholders, and they need to be able to listen to and understand them as the city remains in line with its citizens' interest.
So I think a city council member we've talked about is representative, but which is absolutely true. But the citizens need a voice, and that requires listening. So I think an elected official's responsibility is to listen and to represent the citizens, not just their own opinions. So that's one of the things that I think is the proper role of a city council member. I also think every elected official, one of their top priorities should be to protect and defend the citizens of their community. And that requires focus on a really strong public safety in our community, which we have, and I'm committed to making sure that continues. We need to protect property rights as well as we do that. But I think one of the most important things we do as city council members is take care of the finances. And history's taught us a valuable lesson that loose fiscal policies can be the downfalls of great civilizations. So I'll treat your money in a way that allows you to keep more of it and still maintain our quality of life that we have here in our community. And that's my commitment to you.
Okay, I've chosen 3. I have land use, engaging with residents, and serving on boards. The council is the land use authority. This is one of the biggest and most important roles as a council member, approving zoning ordinances and a general plan so everyone knows exactly how to move forward with development is crucial. Balancing and respecting private property rights is key. We must ensure voices are heard and planned for so we can create a community we all enjoy. I always want to make sure we are not infringing on people's private property rights. The second one is engaging with residents, whether that's responding to emails, talking to people at Macy's. It's critical to stay connected so I understand their perspectives. And the third one is serving on the different boards that mayors ask you to serve on. This is where Spanish Fork is represented. This is where I've been able to create relationships regionally to collaborate, discuss legislative issues, and have a seat at the table regionally.
I think plain and simple, the voice. You got to be the voice of the people. Mark touched on the CEO and the board. You are the board for the city, and then Matt touched on the voice. You have to be the voice for the people, and I believe I have a job where I work here locally, and even though I didn't win last time, I have a lot of people come to my office to yell at me, and I have to remind them I am not that. But I will say there's been some situations where I make a phone call to the mayor. Seth has answered my phone call, Dave Anderson, that has solved the problem that these people come and sit in my office for. And I think just be an advocate for the people. There's the communication. We're not all going to agree on everything, probably ever, but civil conversation to get the best scenario for the city.
All right, serving citizens on the city council is a solemn responsibility because city government has probably the most impact on our daily lives. Core responsibilities include public safety, proper infrastructure like roads and sewers, and zoning. A lot of times I don't think that we really put much thought into these things until they don't work properly, and then they're high priorities for us, right? The City Council is a chance to work more one-on-one with our amazing residents, to hear your concerns, your ideas, your priorities, and to answer your questions. And a City Council member must also be willing and able to accommodate meetings with residents and businesses, attend a variety of meetings, and be diligent in advocating for our citizens on boards and commissions when assigned, and attend conferences where needed to build knowledge for city leaders. Officially, serving on City Council is a part-time job, but I view serving citizens as a full-time responsibility.
So this was an easy question, easy answer. Our responsibility is to serve you, the people of Spanish Fork. And it's already been said multiple times here, but it is to serve you as citizens, to be able to hear your voice, listen to your voice, and to be able to make those decisions on your behalf for the different areas that we have to touch on, the different committees, the different areas of building, the different things in the state. I've had the opportunity to serve as the precinct chair and have made lots of different relationships with those people. So it's one of my strong points is be able to reach out and make sure that our voice from Spanish Fork is heard to all the other communities in the state legislature so that we have that voice as well. And my opportunity to take that voice from you to them. Second is fiscal responsibility. We need to make sure that we make budgets and make sure that we have the money we need to have for our city to run properly. I run a hospital radiology department. We work into millions and millions of dollars. I've been able to keep that budget balanced for what I do in my work. And then the last, obviously, is our people's rights and making sure that that you have the rights that you, whether it be property, whether it be anything that happens for traffic, etc.
Okay, the next question. This is a pretty, will probably be a faster question. It's kind of a fun question to give some insight. The question was, what are your favorite places to spend time in Spanish Fork?
So I think mine's probably at this point a no-brainer, but down in our farms, the last 3 months I've spent trying to find my husband in a farm somewhere. Also the fairgrounds, anywhere I can be on the back of my horse is probably one of my most favorite, and as well as the park with my kids, and say that our favorite park is the All Abilities Park. I appreciate having it.
This is a fun question. I personally love the lunch counter at Stone Drug. I love to go there because I meet people there that I know, and we solve the city problems and world problems while we're down there eating a cheeseburger, which is my favorite food. I also love the city park, especially during city celebrations. We just celebrated Fiesta Days, and the city park is just full of people, and it's people that come back to the community that come up and say hi to me and stuff, and I haven't seen them since last year during Fiesta Days, but it's nice to talk to them. And I also like going down to the Russell Swenson ball field and watch my grandkids play ball and yell at the other coaches and stuff like that.
Yeah, this is a great question. It's hard to narrow down to just a few places and to keep it within 1 minute. So I'm just going to say everywhere. I live here, I work here, I shop here, I golf here. You can find me on the trails, and you'll find me at Two Jacks or Stone Drug for lunch about any day.
Thank you. So my favorite places are at the events where people are. I love people. When I'm rubbing shoulders with other people, I truly feel rejuvenated. My husband asks, why do you love to go? And I'm like, I just feel so much energy being with other people. So whether it's Fiesta Days, Wings and Wheels, or the Easter egg hunt, I love being where I can rub shoulders with you. I also run into my neighbors and friends down on the River Trail, former Mayor Leifson and Cheryl, I see them regularly. Or I run into people over at Barry's getting a cheeseburger and fries. Next Saturday is the Children's Market on Main, where all these children will be to set up a little craft booth and share their hobbies and passions. And one thing I love to do is take my grandkids down there and go and support these kids and teach my grandkids how to interact and engage and handle money and see how a community is really meant to be.
I think for me and my family, if we're not at home, we're at the ballpark. My kids play baseball, and we have a lot of kids. We've played a lot of baseball. If we're not there, some of my favorite spots is in my backyard. I don't know if you know where I live. I live at Makeout Point. Now I know who some of you are. So if we're not at the ballpark, we're at home in the backyard checking trail cameras, doing different things, and anywhere where I'm with Stacy, anywhere there's an event with people in Spanish Fork, it's a great time.
I love this question so much. I grew up on Scenic Drive, right above the rodeo grounds and above the river bottoms, and I loved waking up each morning just looking out the river bottoms. And when I had a chance, when I was younger, I'd go explore the river bottoms. Absolute delight. I also spent countless hours with friends and family at the Spanish Oaks Golf Course. Love golfing there, and then also with the surrounding hiking trails and biking trails. My family, we do that now too. I love anything to do with Fiesta Days, the rodeo grounds. I love the barn, the new addition just north of the rodeo grounds. I think that's a perfectly fitting addition to the city. I also love the Boot Barn. I think it's long overdue and perfect for Spanish Fork, having that here now. We love to eat at Glades, at Barry's. The ambiance at the ballparks there's always something great going on there. Friday night football games for Spanish Fork. We absolutely love go into the Spanish Fork Reservoir. We like to kayak and fish. But I would say my favorite, our favorite thing to do is go to Macy's on Wednesdays for discounted sushi, and then followed by a cone ice cream cone.
Perfect, thank you. If you ask my wife, it's R&R Barbecue. If you ask my daughter, it's In-N-Out. So yes, anything related with food. My most favorite place to go though, and I love it, every Saturday morning, I never miss it. I wished it could go year long, but I love the farmer's market. I love fresh fruit, fresh food, anything that happens with food. The corn from Gordo's and fruit, you name it, I love that. I love any of the events as well. I have to mimic what Stacy said, any of the events. One of them was Wings and Wheels, and when I had the opportunity to have my daughter meet her, one of her heroes, the bomber, the candy bomber, was an awesome event. So, sorry. And we have that opportunity here. What a great opportunity we have here in Spanish Fork. I love fireworks, so anytime you have a fireworks, and Mike, if you need a little bit of donations, I'm not the richest guy, but I'll kick in some cash, bro. I have no problem with that. That was an amazing show this year. So that's one of my other areas I love. My daughter rides down at the rodeo arena, so it's awesome. So I love this place.
First off, Mike, you staked out your permanent spot at Makeout Point. There you go. So if you hear, there's definitely like a normal, or everybody is saying a similar thing. It's the places and the people in Spanish Fork that we love being a part of. It's the rodeo, it's Glades, it's Two Jacks, it's Mi Corazon. It's all of these places that people love because of the people and the community that we live in. I think about Fiesta Days that we just finished with. It doesn't happen without people coming together, whether they have differing opinions or not, working together for the good of our community to make it a better place. And the second thing that I think that we could add to this is all of these things happen that add to the quality of life of Spanish Fork, that make us all want to stay here, but also want us to make it a place where our families can be for the long term, where our kids will move to, our grandkids, whoever it may be, so our families stay close. And I think that that's, again, a testament to what Spanish Fork is and what it will continue to be into the future.
Thanks for waking me up.
Yeah. Now back to the harder questions.
Yes.
All right, you ready? Okay, many residents in Spanish Fork, one of the common things that was received was concern over traffic problems in Spanish Fork. So the question is, how would you mitigate these concerns or change the situation?
I think we do have traffic problems. The recent growth in our city has created some issues that may have been impossible to plan for decades ago. Main Street is a major problem. The city has had studies done that show that 60% of the Main Street traffic is through traffic from other towns heading to and from the freeway. The city engineers have plans to ease the flow that seem to be promising. But the city has to work with UDOT on Main Street and Highway 6 to fully address the problems that have been, that we've kind of inherited. And if you've ever worked with the state and federal government, these things take time. We need to be patient. Some of our neighborhoods have traffic issues too. The city needs to say no to developers who want to compromise the street width and safety to maximize the housing units that they can build.
Well, I think it's a pretty easy question. Do we have a traffic problem? If you drive a car or ride a bike, you know we have a traffic problem. But I think they said it best the other night at City Council meeting when they said it didn't happen overnight and it's not going to be solved overnight. I do think it's important that we make the right decisions and get them right the first time, and that we get more involved in the process earlier on, especially during the winter months. I think if we take the issues to the community, to your area that's going to have traffic for the next following year, get your input, like I mentioned, and then the city staff can make recommendations and add to the process and make it more open and transparent as we go forward. And I think that goes a long way once the citizens feel like they've been heard and actually have been heard, and their ideas are taken into consideration.
So I am currently reading a book called Leadership in Turbulent Times by Doris Goodwin. And I thought this quote was really applicable. Quote, Lincoln dealt with infrastructure problems, widening rivers, constructions of railroads, and making roads. It's an age-old problem, end quote. Hundreds of years later, here in Spanish Fork, yes, we're still dealing with those same issues that Lincoln faced. We have traffic problems in Spanish Fork. We are a growing community. Development happens, growth occurs, traffic is reassessed, and then plans are made to make changes. This year, we have tackled a lot of the traffic issues. If you want to come and talk more details afterwards, I can give you some details at my booth. And next year in 2024, there's big plans as well. So there's a lot going on. A couple of positives I see about traffic is that I don't have to leave Spanish Fork anymore. It may take me a little longer to get across town. I might have to sit through a light, but I'm staying in Spanish Fork and I'm not going north.
All right, I brought this idea up before and it didn't get a lot of traction, but I think it's going to this time. And I'm going to apologize to my friends in Salem. We need a toll. If you started charging people to drive through our main street to go to, we would first off be rich, right? Or we would have a road with no traffic on it. Hey, we all agree traffic is an issue. If you drive down Main Street at 5 o'clock, you are going to be crazy by the end of Main Street. It is what it is. I do say I know the staff knows that, we know that, you know that. They're working on it, but it was said down here before, when you get involved with the bigger government, things take a little time, or a lot of time. But I think just continue to manage it as we go and do it. Like I say, working with the Planning Commission, we've got the best of the best trying to decide this, fix this, move this. They're doing what they should be doing.
Like has been said, I always try to find or see the best side of any situation, especially when it comes to traffic. But you know, boy, it's hard. It's hard when it takes you 3, 4, 5 cycles to get through an intersection, right? Our business hubs here are amazing in a lot of ways, especially the tax dollars that pump into our local economy so we can keep residents' tax low. But with a booming economy comes traffic. There's just not a one answer for this. We must attack it, to be honest, from multiple angles. I believe the City Council has done an amazing job adding stop signs, stoplights, roundabouts. You see that happening right now throughout the city, and I love it. It's freeing up Main Street, it's preserving it, and opening up more pathways for transportation. We must prioritize local roads, as well as continue to strengthen relationships with other agencies and organizations like UDOT and the Railroad to be strong advocates for our residents, community, and communities.
So I had the opportunity to live in a city, a larger city than Spanish Fork, and I had the opportunity to have them expand a road, and then it took 3 or 4 years to expand that road, and then it still wasn't big enough, so they'd expanded again. We need to make sure, do we have a traffic problem? Yes, we have a traffic problem. We just need to make sure that we make the right decisions as we do widen our roads, increase roads, whatever it may be, to do it right the first time, make sure those studies are appropriate. We need to work with our agencies to make that happen, and my willingness to step in and be that person to talk to the legislatures and UDOT, and that's one of our opportunities as City Council, is to reach out and make those relationships, which I've already done in a lot of areas. So I'm grateful for that. So I'll be that little squeaky wheel sometimes, because that's what happens. If you talk enough, you'll be able to get some things heard. And so working with the different agencies to better our roads, 6, Main Street. I live on 400, so I totally understand. And it's a state road. Learned that was when I started 8 months ago coming to City Council, that we can't control all of our roads, but we do have some that we can control, so we need to do that.
So there's a few things that was stated, right? We need to make sure we have good relationships with other partners, which we do. We have some of the best city staff, some of the best. Mike has said that several times, and it's the truth. And the third is that we need to listen to what those concerns are. A good example of that is the road by Larson Elementary. Some of you have drove on that road recently. There's a lot of changes that are happening there. There is a current one that hasn't happened that is happening, and it's due to citizen input. They're going to be resurfacing that road. They're also going to be adding bike lanes on both sides of the road and including what they call a traffic or calming islands right next to Larson Elementary for slowing down of the traffic there. Why does this happen? This happens because of input of people like our citizens who see the concerns and help us bring that to the attention of our staff. Our staff, they are engineers who are professionals at this and try to make it better. We have a traffic problem. If you didn't think we had a traffic problem, you haven't drove in Spanish Fork, but that's part of the challenge of all government is making sure that we're looking to that and trying to find answers.
Okay, so I guess I'll be the one to say it, but we could probably start by not taking out all the stop signs right next to all of our elementary schools. And roundabouts have their place, but I do feel like they are being overutilized in some areas that they don't belong. I do have the opportunity to be part of the Center Street Interchange stakeholder work group. We are able to come together to exchange ideas and different experiences and perspectives to weigh in on the project. It's a great way to build a trust and uncover potential risks. But ultimately, I think the only way that we're going to solve the traffic problem is with smart land use decisions and not drastically increasing our population.
Okay, the next question. This is one that it's a common concern for both residents and elected officials, and it centers around the idea of communication and being heard. So the question is, how do you plan to increase the involvement of residents in future decision-making processes?
Okay. I don't know how many have had the opportunity to come next door to the new council chambers. They're beautiful, they're amazing, they have all the technology to really have good meetings, if there's such a thing as a good meeting. But they're also very intimidating when you have an issue that you want to talk about, to come down and stand down on the flat level while the council sits up high. It can be intimidating. And then once you get there, you only get 3 minutes to give your opinion, when staff and developers often get a lot more time to share their thoughts and give their opinions on things. So I'd like to see that process change to allow the public to make sure their voice is heard. And I think one way we can avoid the intimidation factor is on those issues that really affect the community, that we can take it out to you, to your part of your town and your area, and get your opinion so that you feel like you've been heard.
Okay, I want to first share a couple of things of what we have done and some things we are looking at doing. We are using on our website, if you go to SpanishFork.org, the app Podium. And this is to ensure your questions are directly text to our staff, and then it ensures that you get a quick, accurate response time. The website itself is a wealth of information. You can find where the traffic construction is happening, the goings on in the community. And so I encourage you residents to visit regularly, because it's important that we are committed to stay involved. The second thing is we have improved our monthly newsletter that goes out in our city bills to give you more information that the citizens want and to keep you current. And then there's interviews with Spanish Fork 17. We have the roadshow interview, fiber to the home. There's different things that really keep you connected. Someone's already mentioned this, but what we're doing in the future is this fall is our land use update plan. This is going to be so critical where the staff and council use in the future. This will be a plan. Stay involved, stay engaged. It's going to be up to you to choose to be involved. And my time's over.
Thank you. I think this is one that really hits home to me, and I know a lot of people think I'm naive for believing this, but I have an open door at my office, at my house, on my phone. If people need to talk, I'm there. And I think sometimes we panic a little late, like the city will put up a sign that says, hey, public hearing, nobody shows up, and then all of a sudden the tractors show up and then people are going a little crazy. So I think it's on the city people to make sure you're involved, to make sure you're aware of what's going on. There are a lot of platforms. And I think one thing to make sure you're civil as you do it. I think I won an argument once with my wife in like 2003, December 12th. I don't remember for sure. But we know we're not always right on anything as far as, like the planning commission. I've had people pull me aside and say, hey, you didn't notice this, you didn't see this. 100% I agree, I didn't see it like that. So information is key. I will say the last couple of projects that we've looked at on the planning commission, I did reach out to people in the neighborhood. They were aware, they were happy with some of the changes that were happening, and I was pretty impressed with that.
All right. So life is busy, and we all get a lot of communication every day. This is not a secret. So I would actually start by listening to what works best for you when it comes to this question. And I feel like there should be multiple options, but most of all, it's important that the city's communicating with you well, and you're able to communicate with the city well. Is that texting, surveys, social media, a combination, a hybrid of all of those? Figuring that out is important. Effective communication without it being intrusive or overwhelming I think it's key. One thing I do often with residents that ask and talk about this is I direct them to the city's website. There's something called the Citizen Support Center, and you can go there and say, hey, we need a stop sign here or a stoplight there, and the city watches us. They pay attention, and they'll respond to you. So I love that resource we already have in place. The city also just recently, this last week, sent out a survey about communication. I thought that was excellent, a good place to start. And the bottom line is we need to be very purposeful in connecting to address residents' priorities and keep our hometown feel.
So we need to come to you in all formats. It's been stated already, different formats. If anybody follows me on Facebook or Instagram or anything like that, I'm the guy that'll do the lives. You'll see me with my bee suit on. I'll change that format to get information out to the citizens on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, whatever's needed. We need to come to you, whatever format that looks like. Email, town halls, community events, whatever it looks like, we need to come to you to get that communication to you. And then obviously we need to educate and help you come to us and educate us what we need to do what's your best format. So again, the survey was great. What's the best way to communicate? So we need to get to you to understand what that looks like.
Yeah, I think the survey has been mentioned several times. It's something that you can put out there. How do you consume media? Because I was content that none of us in this room consume media or information the same way. And so it is a hard thing to tackle, but it's important that as representatives that we are looking for ways to figure that out. I think the second thing is trying to be approachable, being that person who the citizens that you can turn to. Again, I may sound like a broken record a little bit, but that's why my information is out there. It's not out there just because of hyperbole, that it's cool to say that my cell phone number is out there for everybody. My wife loves the fact that my cell phone is out there for everybody, but it is. I will take your phone call. I will talk to you. I think that Matt said it, the intimidation factor is sometimes there, and 3 minutes sometimes isn't long enough to talk through a situation, but that's why have that conversation, give that call, make sure that your voice is heard, because sometimes that voice being heard is what's going to make the biggest difference.
So I think that government works best when community is at the center, and that's especially true with building trust and relationships. The outcome's always better when there's collaboration and communication. So how do I plan on increasing involvement? I'd say talk to the people, but listen more. Meet with our residents to help them solve their problems, represent their interests, and find opportunities to try to improve how the government's working for the people.
It's unlikely that everyone in the community is going to be happy with every decision the council makes. That's just the way life is. For example, my neighbor isn't a golfer and hates that the city subsidizes the golf course. Others, like Matt Barber, love the golf course and they love to golf. However, my neighbor has also admitted that he doesn't understand why the city built the golf course or what the implications might be if it was shut down. There's the solution. The city council could work harder to educate our citizens about the reasons why it makes the various decisions. In the end, my neighbor may still complain about the golf course, but he might better recognize the role that the city plays in the community. My wife and I recently took the Spanish Fork University 101, where we learned more about the workings of the city. It has gave us a broader perspective than what we had before, and we actually changed our minds about some of the decisions the city council has made. My time's up.
Okay, the next question. We'll tie this into the Powerball. I guess it's the big jackpots Friday. We're not going to go with the $1 billion or whatever the jackpot number is there, but we're going to put you down to millions, so you can't buy anything. But the question is, if you received $1 million grant to use in the city, any way you wanted, what would you do with it and why?
So if I was given $1 million grant, I would do something that we did back in November 2020. The city received money from the federal government from the CARES Act. As a council, we approved to send each resident 3 $25 gift cards. They could spend that at over 300 businesses in Spanish Fork. These businesses would then take the gift cards to the city to get reimbursed. This was a big help to families and businesses alike. I don't know of any other example that would affect as many people. There were stories where people would give their gift cards to their neighbor or give the gift card to the business and not even make a purchase. This not only helped families be able to make Christmas gift purchases, but also get food on the table. Over $250,000 came back from restaurants. So today, many families are struggling with inflation. If we could put $1 million back into the homes and residents in Spanish Fork, that would be a huge boost. And I actually just had someone this week tell me they love their pickleball paddleboard that they got at MVP during Christmas 2020.
All right, I like this question, and I do think it's a little funny. And so I got my own spin on it. If I had this money to give, if you've taken Spanish Fork 101, it will change how you view the city and the things you see in it. I always tell people, if you have a grudge of how things are going, take that class. If you still have grudges after, then do something about it. But you see how it is ran smoothly. If I had it, I would give some to Pete. Those of you know Pete needs some help so he can take some sleep time, right? So number one, I would give some to Pete. The rest I would give to my fire, EMS, and the police. When you take 101, they will take you through a scenario that they live in every day and put their life on the line, and everybody, I feel like, in here knows that they are way underpaid. Those guys for what they do, and we truly have the best in this city at that, and that's where I would truly give the money.
This is a really exciting question. I love it. So first off, I would love to hear from you about what your priorities are with this $1 million grant. How would you like to spend this money? And I would do also what I do if I were to get like a bonus check or something, and I would think about, okay, do I need to put money into savings and or some pay towards debt, possibly some towards repairs so I don't have further issues down the road with my car or my house. Consider that headspace. I know that we would not all agree on how to use this money, this grant, but with improved communication and consideration, we could probably coalesce some really good ideas. And a few ideas that I had, now Stacy mentioned one, and I love it. So the Shop Local program, it brought back well over $600,000 and energized our community, our economy here in Spanish Fork. Another idea that I had that I think would be just awesome is to work with the Parks and Recreation Department to facilitate making the All Abilities Park part of the Festival of Lights and expand that amazing experience every Christmas. Just an idea. The most important thing, though, it would be to listen to you and support our goal of Pride and Progress.
So for some reason, when I get this, when I read this question, the first thing that came up to my mind was cars, and the reason is because it's a little failing city that that didn't have a whole lot of people coming through it, and it was kind of dying. And I was thinking, wow, what would I do with $1 million? I think I would love to help invest into our main street and help some of our smaller businesses, spruce up some of the businesses, get what they need because repairs are so expensive nowadays, and I'd love to spruce up that so we could kind of drag Main again. Oh wait, you guys don't use drag Main. It's not what's called. Cruise Main, or yes, exactly, Cruise Main Street. That would be fun to bring back. Also like to give some money to Tabitha's Way. Also take some money to spruce up our trailways, especially after all the water that came in through Spanish Fork, to beautify those, put some benches down, and just get some resting areas, watering areas, so we could, when we're riding bikes and whatnot, be able to relax. So that's how I'd use my $1 million.
So the first question that came to my mind when I read this was, where's this money coming from and what strings are attached? Because if it's coming from certain entities, you know there's something there. But then my second went to, right after a flood season, we spent a lot of money on the flood efforts to make sure that those were taken care of. But then my mind really went to our public services, our emergency service personnel. Those vehicles that they drive to make sure that we're safe, the fire trucks, the ambulances, they cost a lot of money to equip. They cost a lot of money to get them just in the first place. But then also there's a long lead time. And that's something that we're always trying to do. In 2020, Spanish Fork was voted the safest city in Utah among the United States. And it doesn't just happen by accident. It doesn't just happen because we just let it sit there idly. It's because we make sure that they have the resources that they need. So I think that one of the things about a grant is making sure that it's one-time services, that it's not just something that's ongoing, because the natural reaction would be, let's pay them more, but unfortunately the grant didn't say it was ongoing, so that's what I would do.
These are also really good ideas. I would actually say maybe the Thurber School. So just right next door. These old buildings are visual reminders of our area's culture and heritage and the people and industries that once played a key role in establishing our community and making it what it is today. So from what I understand, the State Historical Society has reached out to the city previously about registering the Thurber building with the National Registry. But from what I was told, that the offer was declined due to potential seismic safety concerns. So I would actually put the money towards bringing it up to seismic code so we can actually keep the Thurber School.
One of two things. I would like to see our downtown revitalized in accordance with the Downtown Vision CPAP survey that was completed in May 2015. Few of its recommendations have been implemented in the last 8 years. The report is important because it took the perspectives of the city, local business owners, and members of the community into account to envision what downtown could be. I've been talking with city officials and local businesses owners to try to understand why there hasn't been more progress. Part of the problem is communication issues between the city and the business owners. The money could be used to work towards a better understanding and wants and needs of the city and our businesses and how to achieve them, particularly when the wants and needs overlap. Second, I would work with the Neville School District implementing a school resource officer program in which retired police officers and our veterans would help in every school, providing not only safety, but friendship and mentoring.
Well, again, I was able to ask this question to a couple of groups that I've met with this week, and they had some really good ideas that I hadn't thought about. I was surprised to hear how many of them wanted us to bring back the green waste transfer station. And so they had a place to dump all their lawn clippings and things. So that would be a good thing. The other thing I heard was an amphitheater somewhere in the city, maybe behind the city, the old library building, but a place that we could have bring in some entertainment throughout the year, not just necessarily at Fiesta Days. And then also to help those who might not be able to afford the costs of the new rec center when it comes in. So I thought all three of those were great things, and I liked what everybody else has had to say too. So.
Okay, next question. Please share with us what you believe to be your core values.
Whoa. Okay, I would think my core values, I believe in honesty, integrity, and love. If you don't have those things, you shouldn't be doing what we're doing. Because first off, you'll get beat up for some of the things you did or didn't do. So be ready for that. And I think when I coach baseball, a lot of times those kids will get a great play. Now right now they're 11-year-old kids, and they'll turn third base running home, and I'll run up and tell them how much I love them. Sometimes they give me a weird look. But you know what? I do love those kids. And for me, love and integrity, if you don't have those, you have nothing. And in this job where you could be profile, people watching, you better do what you say you do and mean what you say, 100%.
There was a moment years ago that shaped my life that I want to share with you. My senior year in Spanish Fork High School, my coach, Coach Everett Kelly Polo, awarded me with the Integrity Award for my senior football season. And he said, Landon, integrity is when you do the right thing when no one is looking. And that experience has been a big part of the foundation I have built my life on and how I relate to people and work in all facets of my life. I love standing up for people, the way that the people in this great community stood up for me when I moved here. I strive to be genuine and compassionate and have compassion in every situation with people, even when we disagree. Being trustworthy is key to my core. A close friend recently said, hey Landon, I trust you to go ahead and borrow my brand new truck. I mean, in this town, that's trust. You know, Spanish Fork taught me hard work at a young age. People believed in me and showed me that I could be a leader. Being a good leader means having a servant's heart. All of this has served as a foundation for me and for my successes and the values that will drive my success on City Council.
So I knew that if I didn't get the mic first, I knew that the main answer was going to be integrity, honesty, hard work. And so I knew that I had to come up with something and really dig deep because honesty, integrity is a huge core of my life. One of the things that came into my mind was my care for people. I got into healthcare to help people. There's nothing more important, nothing more challenging than when you're doing CPR on somebody and you're trying to save their life and you don't even know who they are. So my care for people, I got into healthcare because of that, and to really help people become healthy and live better lives and become stronger and save lives. And that's one of my core values, is my love for people. And that's one of the reasons why I'm running for City Council, is because I want to serve you. I want to make sure that I do what's right for you and listen to your voice so we can be a strong, thriving community and have that love and strength for one another.
So as someone running for City Council, you would hope that they would have integrity, that they would have love, that they'd listen, all these different things that we're talking about. I want to focus in on a couple of them. The first is love. I think that love and empathy is something that you cannot fake. That people will see through that. If you really don't care about somebody and you're just talking to them or talking past them, people notice that. I believe and I know that I have love for people. I care for people. No matter if we disagree or agree on something, that I'm going to care for that person because they are a person, that they are here, that they need to be cared for. One of the things that I mentioned earlier is I used to run the Plasma Center on Main Street, and then I also ran the one in Provo before. Something that I taught my employees is that we have people of many walks of life that donate plasma. And some of them don't get to see a smiling face that day. They live alone or they just don't have positive things going on in their life. It's important that we show them love because that's something that they can take with them and that, again, we can't fake.
So I genuinely want to understand all perspectives. I want to understand other people's experiences and their struggles. I think that our collective success rests on civil engagement, and not everyone will like you. They might even have legitimate reasons not to, but not respecting. So we should respect the humanity of someone else, and that doesn't take away from yours. So I feel like having some grace and doing so, you can empower people by standing by your own values.
My family and community. My wife and I have 3 children. They and their spouses are all residents of Spanish Fork and have chosen to raise 8 grandchildren here. I am vested in this great community and I am proud of it and support it. I would want to see my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren be proud of it also and want to be part of the fabric of its future. My faith in country. I have a firm belief in God. My faith in Him leads me to believe that through our efforts, we can make a difference in our families, community, and country. I believe that our nation was founded on an ideal that we could make a difference by our actions and our liberties afford us by the Constitution means that our efforts can make a difference.
I have three. God, family, country. I believe that we've let God slip away from our lives and our country, and it's reflected in the state of affairs that we have now. And I'm committed to bringing God back into our lives and in our communities and promoting the values that will make us stronger. The next is family. Family's everything. As a community, we must support and strengthen families through the programs and the activities we back as a local government, and I think we do a really good job of that. Our families are at the heart of our community, and we must ensure that they thrive and can support themselves. Lastly, let's boost our commitment to patriotism and our love for our country. If you went to the rodeo any of the nights this year, you know what I'm talking about. I think anybody who was there wishes they could bottle it all up and keep it. And that's the kind of spirit I want to infuse into our community. And it's all about God, family, country for me.
I also have three. I have honesty, relationships, and service. Honesty. It's important for me to know others can trust me, but it's also important for me to know that I can trust you. I tell you how I see things, but I also want you to feel comfortable in sharing what your concerns are and what's important with me. Relationships. People are important to me. 2 + 2 doesn't always equal 4. Within relationships, it can equal 10. By building relationships, we can find better ideas, find where we are going wrong, and find the right people to make it even better. And service. It's truly the core of who I am. I want to serve those around me, and I gravitate towards the people that also love to serve, to put forward their time and talents to make our community even a better place to live. I want to lift and build others as well as our community. These 3 core values enhance my ability to represent individuals and the businesses in Spanish Fork.
Okay, last question here. One thing's become very apparent to me as we've gone through this is how much you love your community. Spanish Fork is a strong community, it's close-knit, and the theme of pride and progress is very real, and I feel that. So the final question is, please share with us an example of when you have successfully collaborated with others to commune or discuss on a difficult agreement.
Wonderful, thank you. So I personally know that the City Council currently considers many different opinions before making decisions. I watch it when I attend City Council. Once the council decided to move forward with the Rec Center early in 2022, I was asked by them to serve on the Rec Center Task Force because they knew I wanted to serve and that I have a priority of listening to residents. With about 15 other residents, some for, some against the Rec Center project, we respectfully considered how to make a rec center great. It was a massive undertaking. We met and discussed the pros and cons, how to be as cost effective as possible. We visited surrounding rec centers. Ultimately, we came together though, and we collaborated to decide what should be included in our city's rec center. You know, many different personalities and opinions played out for months. But regardless of our stance on the rec center, we were able to work together as a team and make decisions for the betterment of our community. And I thrive in difficult situations like this, to bring people together for a successful outcome. And this is what I will do as a public servant for Spanish Fork. Thank you.
So this brings me back to when I first got here to Utah. We were building a huge project at Utah Valley Hospital, and one of our areas that had already been planned and architected out had opportunity for some increased technology in our cardiac exams. And I had a lot of expertise in that area. So I was able to discuss with the leaders and the builders and the construction architects to get things changed. And we actually were able to bring this service to the folks in this county. As a matter of fact, it was the first one in the county to have this cardiac exam done. And even though this change was going to have repercussions with dollars because it was an increase in the actual equipment, it was increase in construction, increase in changes of that construction, planning, and so, I was able to collaborate with my colleagues to show them that it would be a greater, more important opportunity to have that health care in the hospital and to provide that for all of the people here in Utah County, as well as bringing that same critical thinking and those observations here in Spanish Fork.
So if I have time, I'll share two. The first one was before we opened this plasma center here in Spanish Fork. We were going through the approval process. There were many people who came to the meetings that the city held that weren't for that project due to maybe misconceptions of what the center would bring, or also what we were about. What happened is through collaboration, through talking with those business owners, and it was mainly Main Street business owners who were concerned. They were concerned at what type of patrons we would bring to the downtown area. After coming and visiting the center in Provo, after talking through things, and then also I think through time of us being here, they've seen the pillar that business has become, and many of those business owners have actually partnered with the Plasma Center in collaborating together or doing business-to-business marketing, because that's the way they see that success can happen from that. The second that I want to share is more recent, and as being on the city council, there's sometimes we get to engage with different difficulties that are going on, and right now we're working on through some parking issues with some different people, and one of the things I've been able to do is help lead those conversations to help make sure that every voice is heard at that table so that everybody can make sure that their concerns are taken care of.
Okay, so I'm going to use an example that some of you may be familiar with, but last year I organized and sponsored the referendum that challenged land use decision, which was against a high density land use decision that was in our rural community. So the referendum is a mechanism by which ordinances passed by the city council can be placed on the ballot for approval or rejection by the voters. The referendum by design isn't just to get signatures from the people who agree with you, but the process fosters citizens' involvement and legitimizes important decisions. So the only thing that we had to agree on was the right to vote, which is one of the most important rights of American citizens. So I think that the outcome's always better when there's collaboration and communication.
My wife and I just finished 3 years with the Fiesta Days Executive Committee. We worked with approximately 12 other appointed citizens and several hundred volunteers to collaborate, plan, fund, and execute 3 weeks of celebration. Even though Fiesta Days happens every year and is very successful history, it is an incredibly complex set of events that are many, many times when disagreement happens. We have had to use different strategies for different situations to address different opinions. For example, the committee had to plan the Fiesta Days magazine. There was a variety of ideas about the layout, the color, the order of the content, and so on. We made sure that everyone had a chance to express their views, make an argument, and understand each other. Not everyone got what they wanted in all cases, but we tried to make sure that everyone participated, were heard, so that everyone understood, so that the group could be successful.
The last time I served on city council, we had a really well-loved park where Costco sits now. And at the time, the neighbors, that was their park, it was the closest to them. And we had a developer come to town who offered an amazing opportunity for the community. So you can imagine when the city comes to the community and says, we're gonna take a park out, that was really controversial. And it took a combination of many city meetings with all the stakeholders to come together. But you can see what we have now. We have probably the premier retail center in Utah County, if not the state. And we also have an amazing park that has splash pad, pavilions, a walking trail, playgrounds. And it was because we all went together and came up with the program and a solution together, and it's lasted this long, and it's amazing.
So before City Council, each time we come down, we have about an hour together in what we call a work session. And we discuss things that are coming up on our radar that we can talk with staff about and one another. About 4 or 5 years ago, we were in a work session, and we were told that Nebo School District had chosen Spanish Fork High School to be the first of the 3 high schools to be rebuilt. We all were so disappointed. We wanted to be last because we wanted our swimming pool to be there a lot longer. We had just invested about $100,000 in to resurface the pool, keep it going, and we weren't ready to do anything. We thought, we don't want to make that next step. And so we were discussing, we're going to have to tear out the pool. It has 1 more year of life. What are we going to do with the residents? And so as I'm listening to everyone, I'm thinking, I was a stay-at-home mom for a lot of years. And I took my kids down to that pool 2 to 3 times a week to entertain them in the summer. Do I tell them? They're all men. I'm the only woman in the room. So after discussing, I tell them, this is important. Can we get another year out of this pool? Moms want the pool. Kids want the pool. And Councilman Mendenhall at the time said, you know what? My wife really loves the pool too. After discussing and collaborating, we were able to be safe in our construction standards, getting the families there. They had to walk a little further, but we were able to collaborate. And I felt like I was listened to, respected, and heard sitting at the table.
All right, I think for me, I think the world likes us to, if we don't agree on something or we're not on the same page, to fight about it. I think that's the new cool thing to do. In my job, I have the horrible opportunity to be able to, if people don't pay their cars, we have to repossess their cars. And if you've ever gone through that, people usually are not very happy with you when you take their cars. And it's usually everybody's fault but their own. A lot of times I didn't call them enough to remind them. And I think situations like that, I now have some of my closest friends that I've made that are people that I've repossessed their vehicle. Because we're able to talk through our differences, talk being the key word, to focus on our end goal, what can we do to make it work? And I think it's like anything else, whether it's politics, life, business, I think if you can sit down, be civil and talk, you can make it work for all parties.
Okay, we're at the end now. One item I'm going to say real quick. We're going to give them a 1-minute wrap up, right? Yes, we're going to give them a 1-minute wrap up. We'll start here and we'll just go back this way since the mic's already down there. So candidates, just give 1 minute to wrap up. And I'll say my little piece right now. It's very clear to me that you have some amazing candidates here, and what a great community to be blessed with so many good candidates. When you're done, I encourage you to meet with them and drill down on some of the issues that really stand out to you, because it's hard to get all the issues addressed in a format like this. But hopefully some questions have been sparked in your mind. They're all anxious and willing to talk to you. They want to know a little bit more, so take some time when you're done to follow up on your questions. Okay.
Thank you. So Spanish Fork is not just my home or where I grew up. Spanish Fork is a place that made me who I am today. I remember well when I was in high school, 1995, Spanish Fork, and I was one of 9 students chosen to serve on the Youth City Council. From that experience, I fell in love with civic engagement. I fell in love with public service. But most of all, I fell in love with this city, Spanish Fork. The experience was followed by another sweet experience when the Spanish Fork Rotary awarded me a scholarship to go to college. I went to college and I eventually graduated. It changed my life. As a council member here in Spanish Fork, I will focus on local priorities, local businesses, and a solid financial foundation as keys to keep our community full of pride and progress. I want to thank you all for coming out tonight. Thank you for your support, and I can promise you that I will work hard to continue to earn your vote. Thank you.
All right, it's been a great meeting. Thanks so much for putting it together. Really wasn't that bad. So I'm okay now, now that it's over. If you haven't noticed, I love this city. I love the people in it. I love what it stands for. The more I get involved, the better it gets. I feel bad for people that aren't here. I don't think we got to keep selling it as good as we are, because they just keep coming, right? But my goal is to be the voice of the people. And I said it before, I'll say it again. People think I'm naive because when I found out some stuff on the Planning Commission, I was nervous. So I went and knocked on the doors of the neighbors and said, hey, have you heard about this? Do you agree with it? Do you like it? And I will say, to my surprise, because sometimes I think that we don't pay attention as citizens, we just, until it's too late. People knew about it and people were excited about some of the changes that happened. I will say there was a couple things that people weren't excited about, but we were able to have a civil conversation, and if elected, that's what I'll do. I will try and be the voice of the people. I will listen and do what I can for you.
Thanks. First, I want to thank each one of you for being up here. This is really great, and thank you for wanting to make Spanish Fork a better place to live for families and businesses. So in April, we had our last council meeting in the old Thurber School in the council chambers, and we had invited former council members to come here. Some of them weren't able to come to our ribbon cutting here, so they came to that last meeting. We had council members from the 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s sharing their experiences of their time served. And you know what they were facing? Traffic, growth, and water issues. It's the same issues for the last several decades. The things that's different is the people you elect to sit up here and represent you. So I encourage you to really connect with three of us. Who can you trust? Who can you go to? Who do you feel confident in representing you? That is key. I've done my best the previous years as I've served to represent you honestly and clearly. I've stayed engaged and connected. I've made difficult decisions and I've done the heavy lifting. I will always work to ensure Spanish Fork remains a place where my children and grandchildren want to live and grow. As we face growth, challenges, and success together, I hope to continue representing you on Spanish Fork City Council.
It's really intimidating to only get a minute to answer these complex questions. You're in front of everyone, you got the cameras on. I know for a fact that I'm a lot more stuffy up here. I wish I was like Mike. So I take the opportunity to get to know me, ask me questions. You'll be heard, I'll listen, and I'll be your voice. I want to treat your money in a way that you'll be able to keep more of it and that we can still maintain the quality of life that we love here in Spanish Fork. And when you get your ballots in about 2 weeks, my name's at the bottom. I think that's because they save the best for last. At least that's what I want to think. And I'm Matt Barber, and I want to earn your vote.
I'd like to thank everybody that put this event on. It was not fun, but it's necessary. I want to encourage all of you and everybody that is listening on the Channel 17 to please contact me. I want to hear your voice. I want to hear what you think is an issue. The best way to solve or to provide a solution to a problem is getting a lot of input, and that is what I want to do. So I love the community. I've lived here 62 years, and I want to keep it that way. Thank you.
So I want to continue being a strong advocate for the interests of the residents and ensuring that their voices are not only heard, but also represented in our local decision-making processes. So I know we can all work together to find a solution that will be a benefit to everyone. And I want to engage in discussions that allow for compatible land uses and minimize the negative impacts on existing property rights in our rural communities and sustainable agricultural productions. It's not that I don't think anybody should ever develop, but I do think it needs to be compatible with surrounding zoning, and I'm willing to stay a part of that conversation until that happens. I would appreciate your vote.
All right, again, thank you. Thank you to everyone up here. Thanks to the Chamber, Spanish Fork City for having us here, you for being here and watching. One of the things that I would ask is, it's been said a little bit, is get to know the candidates. Get to know not only them, but those that are running with them, and also those that maybe that don't agree. Because I think oftentimes that's what we're going to see, is we're not always going to agree, but we want to see how people treat each other. One of the other things I think that I want you to know about me is that I'm here to build bridges, solve problems, and strengthen our community. We want leaders in our city council who are going to tackle the issues, who are going to make sure that they are listening to the people, and that we are looking towards the future to make sure that we're making good decisions. I am that leader, and I'm asking for your vote.
It's been said, we're very grateful for the opportunity to be here, grateful for the chamber, grateful for all the candidates, grateful for our current city council and for our current mayor and all those who served in the past to make the city as good as it is and make it a great city. A few things I commit to you, I commit to the city is I will listen. I will listen to you as a council member. I will listen to your opinions. I will listen to your voice and share that voice. I commit to you that I will ask those hard questions, not just to myself, but to fellow council members, to the mayor, to other entities in the state to help us advance our city forward. I commit to you that I'll do critical thinking to make sure we do what's right. I really do believe that the things we do today will affect our children tomorrow. And I would love your vote. And also, please get to know us. As it's been stated, come talk to us. You can't know us if you don't speak to us. So please take the opportunity to reach out to us. Cell phones, emails, we're all available. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for all we've done.